When I was 5 years old, my grandmother took me to the video store and told me I could rent anything I wanted. And what I wanted, because the box showed a snarling chrome truck with glowing red eyes running a man down in the road, was a movie called Maximum Overdrive. The plot is simple. One afternoon, every machine on Earth wakes up at the same moment and starts slaughtering people. Trucks run them down. A lawnmower eats a kid alive in his own yard. A soda machine murders a little league coach by firing cans into his guts. The movie is garbage. The idea is not. The idea is that the machines we plug in and trust and let into our homes could turn on us all at once, on the same day, on a signal, and that idea climbed into my 5-year-old skull, and it has never left. I am writing this to tell you it is about to happen, and I do not mean that as a scary figure of speech. The men building the city-size AI data centers across this country are building them to run a surveillance grid that watches every one of us, and a robot army that answers only to them. And the most evil part, the part that should make you sick, is that they are going to get you to buy the robots yourself, on monthly payments, and stand them in your own kitchen. There is a plan. There are names behind it, and there are government orders you can read for yourself. And I am going to show you all of it before you finish this page. It starts with the thing they are pouring concrete for right now, 6 miles from somebody's front door. Start with the building, because they work very hard to keep it fuzzy in your mind what a city-size AI data center actually is. It is a building, or a wall of them, going up right now across Virginia and Texas and Utah, that swallows tens of thousands of acres, drinks rivers of water, and burns more electricity than whole states. That is not me being colorful. The biggest one on the planet, a project called Stratos that Kevin O'Leary, yes, the angry rich guy from Shark Tank, is pushing in rural Utah, covers 40,000 acres. That is 62 square miles, twice the size of Manhattan, built to eat more electricity than the whole state of Utah burns in a year. That is not a building and not an office park. That is a private industrial city dropped next to your town, and you are the small thing that lives in its shadow. And they do not need it, which is the part that should make your blood pressure spike. I run local AI for coding and research on a computer sitting on my desk in a rundown monthly rental motel. Because I am a hobo journalist, and houses are for people who made better life decisions than writing about rich people with lawyers and crooked cops on their payroll, who will ruin your life out of spite. It codes, it researches, it does web design, it does every trick the billionaires swear can only happen inside a city-sized data center. The machine that does all of it already fits on a desk. It gets cheaper every month, and in 5 years, it will fit in your phone. The whole "we need these giant buildings" story is a lie, and they know it. So why build one the size of a city? Because the computer on my desk answers to me, and they cannot stand that. They want one machine, in one place, big enough to watch every American and command millions of robots at once, sitting behind razor wire in the desert where you can never reach it. That is not a tool you control. That is the off switch for your entire life, held by men who do not consider you a person. And they have already figured out the best part of the whole deal. You are going to pay to build your own prison. But paying for it is not even the first way one of these things bleeds you. The bleeding starts the day it rolls into your county. Picture the day it comes to your county, because it is coming. A city-size AI data center lands 6 miles from your house, and nobody asked you, because the county commission approved it in a meeting they did not announce, in exchange for a tax deal that has a $1 trillion company paying about what you pay on your 3-bedroom house. They stood at a podium and promised hundreds of good jobs. You got 12 guys and a guard shack. Then it gets thirsty, and that is when it reaches past your county line and into your kitchen. One of these data centers drinks millions of gallons of water a day just to keep from cooking itself. And it pulls that water straight out of the same ground that feeds your well, your kid's school fountain, and the field that grows your food. One hot August, your faucet coughs and spits brown air at you, while the data center 2 exits down runs cold and wet around the clock. Your electric bill quits being a bill and turns into a ransom note, because power prices next to these things have reportedly jumped by as much as 267% in 5 years. So your 78-year-old mother becomes a contestant on the worst game show ever built, where the only prize is choosing what she sacrifices to the AI overlord this month. Her pet? Her heart pills? Her grocery money for all 30 days? It does not matter which one she picks, because on the new and improved World Order show, you always lose. And if that wasn't bad enough, the noise never stops. A deep hum from the cooling fans that runs all night and gets into your teeth until you cannot sleep. And the one thing you own, your house, is suddenly worth a fraction of what it was. Because who wants to live next to the thing that drank the county dry? You did not vote for any of this, and that was the whole point. And every bit of that misery, the dry well, the dark house, your mother's pills, happens before they even switch the data center on for what it is really for. And what it is really for, they have been hiding in plain sight for 40 years, in exactly the kind of trashy movie my grandmother let me rent when I was 5. Stephen King directed Maximum Overdrive while blasted out of his skull on enough cocaine to kill an elephant. Whether he was in on the technocratic plan to use machines to enslave the world, or whether he just did enough blow to pry his third eye open and saw the real future in visions he turned into a B-grade horror movie in the 80s, is anyone's guess, and it could easily be both. The occult backbone of the story was not quite right, but the bones of it, machines coming to life and killing everyone in reach, he got dead on. And his little drive-in disaster was not a one-off fever dream. It was one drop in a 50-year flood. Hollywood has been pumping this exact story into your skull for 50 years, and every single time they dress it up as a fun night out. Logan's Run, where the state quietly kills you the day you turn 30 and stop being useful. Brave New World, where they keep the whole population drugged and entertained so nobody ever feels the chains. 1984, where a screen in every room watches you while you sleep. The Terminator, where the machines wake up and decide the human race has to go. A robot takeover, a total surveillance grid, a culling of everyone some authority judged useless. All of it, up on the screen for half a century, sold to you with a large popcorn. And that is the whole trick. They did not put the plan in fiction by accident. They put it there so a robot takeover of the planet would sound like nothing but the fever dream of a tinfoil hat-wearing, schizo-hobo journalist like the Wise Wolf. So here I am standing up right now before a single robot has turned, saying it out loud, while there is still time to do something about it. And watch what your trained brain does with that. It files me under science fiction. It files me under crazy. It files me under one more crank who watched too many movies, and you scroll right past the warning like it's a nothing burger. That is the entire job the programming was built to do, to make you laugh off the warning while it can still save you, not to fool you later when the robots are already in the street and laughing is no longer on the menu. If Hollywood had never made a single one of these films, and a stranger walked up to you tomorrow and told you they are building a brain the size of a city and an army of robots to wipe out everyone it decides is useless, you would grab your kids and run for the hills. Instead, you have been marinated in this exact story since before you were born, handed it as popcorn one Friday night at a time, until a machine that wakes up and kills the people around it feels like a rerun you already sat through. That is the whole point. They took the real plan and ran it through Hollywood for 50 years to wear you numb to it. So that when a man like me stands in the road, screaming the truth at the top of his lungs, you do the exact thing they trained you to do. You write me off as the boy who cried wolf. They made the truth unbelievable before I ever opened my mouth. That reflex was installed in you on purpose, and the men who installed it were never just making movies. To find them, you only have to look up the grandfather of the richest man alive. That grandfather belonged to a cult with a name and a creed. In 1933, a group started up in New York called Technocracy Incorporated, and they said right out loud what Silicon Valley only whispers today. Democracy is finished. Voting is a waste. Tear down money and elections and presidents, and hand the whole country to the engineers, who will run human beings like cattle in a feedlot. They wanted to wipe out the borders between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and melt the whole continent into one engineer-run zone they called the Technate. They wore matching gray uniforms and traded their own names for numbers. The man who ran their Canadian branch, until Canada outlawed the whole outfit as a threat to the country in 1940, was Joshua Haldeman, and he is Elon Musk's grandfather. And almost 100 years ago, that cult sat down and drew a map of the country it wanted to build. Now, look at the territory this current administration keeps saying out loud that it wants. Greenland, Canada, the Panama Canal, Mexico. Lay the two side by side and I dare you to tell me I am imagining things. It is the same map. They are not hiding this. They are bragging. Everybody housed. Everybody fed. Every need met, whether you work or not. Back then, they promised it under the banner of the Technate. Today, they call it Universal Basic Income. But think it through the way they are praying you never do. Once the robots do all the work, you do not have a job. And a man with no job, in their eyes, is a useless eater, a mouth that takes and makes nothing. UBI is not a gift. They will stack you in a gray concrete tower and bolt a sign to the front that reads, "Luxury Residences for Valued Citizens." And inside they will feed you a paste ground out of crickets and beetles and call it sustainable protein. That is 1984 doublespeak, a slave's ration dressed up with a 5-star name. Strip the brand off it, and what you are looking at is communism under Stalin with a better ad agency. A whole population sealed in a box, fed just enough to keep breathing, and ordered to be grateful for it. And you already know what a feedlot does with an animal that has stopped being useful. It does not keep paying to feed it out of kindness. The same men who decided you were a useless eater are not going to house you and spoon you beetle paste for free until you die of old age. The holding pen has a back door, and the back door opens onto a grinder, and the useless eater they fed yesterday comes back tomorrow as the nutritious paste they ladle out to your kids and grandkids. Strip away the rockets and the phones, and this is the oldest and ugliest dream there is. A handful of men who have decided they are gods, and the rest of us are livestock to be fed, managed, and culled. The whole human race herded under a single master. They have been clawing back toward it for thousands of years, and they have never once been this close. I am not going to tell you what to make of that. I am just laying the pieces on the table. You connect them. And the newest piece is sitting in the Oval Office. I voted for Trump in 2016, so do not come at me with that. That man was a wrecking ball, and plenty of buildings had it coming. But this was never really about Trump, and it will not be about whoever takes that podium after him. Every president is a frontman. The thing standing behind all of them is a capital city that got bought. The whole of Washington, both parties, purchased outright by the richest men in human history, who just happen to be the very same men pouring the concrete for these data centers. Republican or Democrat makes no difference to them. They bought the entire government with the exact fortunes they are now spending to build the machine that will own you. You do not have to take my word for one syllable of it, because the man signed his name to the proof. On July 23, 2025, he signed an order to ram these data centers through approval as fast as possible, handing the companies federal land, federal money, and a free pass around the rules that protect the water you drink. On December 11, 2025, he signed another one that turns the entire Justice Department loose on any state with the nerve to pass a law against AI, with a special legal strike team built to drag those states into court and choke off their federal money. The man he put in charge of it all is a Silicon Valley investor named David Sachs, who has gone after the toughest of these state laws by name. And buried in that December order is the line that gives up the whole game. It politely lists the local rules your town is still allowed to have, and then it carves out the one thing you are forbidden to touch, which is slowing down a data center. Your town can still argue about everything else under the sun. The single power they reached down and ripped out of your hands, by order of the President of the United States, is your power to stand up in your own community and say, "Not here. Not next to my kids." They wrote that down on purpose, because they are terrified of what you will do when you find out. They are right to be terrified, and they are already acting like it. In May of 2026, the reporters Ken Klippenstein and Dan Boguslaw exposed something that should have been screaming off the front page of every paper in America. Congress has quietly built itself its own spy agency, its own little CIA, called the Capitol Police Intelligence Services Bureau, and wired it straight into the federal surveillance machine. And in April, that new spy shop sent a report to police departments all over the country, warning them about a dangerous new threat. The threat they named was you. Not terrorists, regular Americans who do not want a data center in their town. The report admits on paper that the agency is watching social media posts that criticize data centers. Then, a few lines later, in the same document, it admits there is not one single real threat against anyone in Congress. None. They wrote a spy file about a danger they openly admit does not exist, and shipped it to cops in every state to watch the neighbors who show up to town meetings and complain. That is you. That is your pastor. That is the lady from the PTA who asked why her water bill doubled. And that surveillance net is being built straight into the data centers themselves. A law renewed in 2024 quietly forced the companies that run these buildings to help the government spy, which means every text you send, every photo, everywhere your phone goes, the doorbell camera you bought to feel safe, the TV listening in your bedroom, all of it pours into that city-sized data center and lives there forever. Peter Thiel already built the most powerful spy software on Earth, a company called Palantir, whose entire job is watching human beings, and now it is aimed at all of us at once. Stand up at a town meeting and say you do not want the server farm draining your well, and your name travels from a Facebook post into a federal file, into a police database, filed next to actual terrorists, and you broke no law. You just said no out loud, and the machine you are paying for wrote your name down for it, and the watching is only step one. Because the same men are about to put something in your house that does a great deal more than watch. That something is already being built, and it is the one that should cost you your sleep. The city-sized data center is the brain. A brain needs hands. It needs hundreds of millions of hands, and they are going to trick you into building those hands and standing them inside your own home, right next to your own family. You are going to arm the thing that kills you, and you are going to thank them for the chance. It starts gentle, and that is what makes it work. The home helper robot arrives, and it is wonderful. It does the dishes and folds the laundry and mows the lawn and carries the groceries up the stairs your bad back cannot handle. And it watches your kids when you work a double, patient in a way you are too worn out to be by 9 at night. The factory buys them for the line. The nursing home buys them to lift grandma out of bed. They cost $20,000, which sounds impossible until the company offers to knock it down to a small monthly payment. The same exact trick they used to put a $2,000 phone in the hand of every broke kid in America. So everybody gets one. Your neighbor, your church, your daughter's school, your widowed mother names hers and tells it goodnight like it is a person. Within a few years, there are 200 million of them in homes and stores and schools from coast to coast, every one taking its orders from the same brain in the same data center, owned by the same handful of men who already own the president. You pay yours off faithfully, month after month, until it is bought and paid for and feels like part of the family. And then one ordinary night, while 200 million households sleep, an update downloads. The same quiet update that fixed the camera last month and taught it to fold towels better the month before. Except this one changes what the machine is for. The thing standing in your kitchen comes awake at 3 a.m. And it is not a helper anymore, and the men in the data center have decided your grandmother, who is old and sick and does not work, is what their cult calls a useless eater, an inefficient drain on the technate that needs to be removed. So the robot you bought, the one grandma named, the one that tucked your kids in, walks to the knife block on the counter, picks up the biggest blade, and walks down the hall to her room while you stand frozen in the doorway and watch it happen, because it is faster than you and stronger than you, and it was built to lift an engine block, and it does not stop. 200 million of them, in every town in the country, at the same second. No warning, no front line, no army coming to save you. Because the army is already inside the house, and it already knows which door is grandma's and which door is your daughter's. By the time the sun comes up, the men in the desert own America, and they never fired a shot because you bought their soldiers, charged them on your counter every night, and let them tuck your children into bed. That is the plan, and it was the plan from the very first day. This is not an accident, or a glitch, or a machine that went wrong. It is the second half of a scheme that has been running since the moment they offered you that first easy payment. Step 1 was getting a soldier into every home and onto every street in America. The helper that did your dishes and watched your kids for a little money down. Step 2 is the button. One man in an office presses it, and 200 million machines stop helping and start taking the country by force. All in a single night, the way you tap update on your phone. That is the nightmare they are building. The one fact that can stop it is the thing they are spending billions to keep from you. You are not the crazy one. You are not the lone crank at the town meeting. In March of 2026, Gallup found that 7 out of 10 Americans do not want a data center built anywhere near them. 7 out of 10 of you already agree with me. They hate these things worse than they fear a nuclear plant in the backyard, and that hatred crosses every party and every pew and every town in this country. That is not a fringe. That is almost everybody you know. And almost everybody you know is the one thing they cannot beat. That is the whole reason they had to buy the president, muzzle your state house, and stand up a secret police, because the math is not on their side, and they know it. There are 7 of you for every 3 of them. The only reason they are winning is that you do not yet understand. You are an army. So look hard at what these data centers actually do before they swallow a drop of your water or wake up a single robot. They sort people. A machine in the desert drops every man, woman, and child in this country into one of 2 piles. Pile 1 is the handful they have decided are worth keeping. Pile 2 is everybody else, the ones some algorithm has already written off as useless eaters, mouths that take and make nothing, a drain on the technate to be cleared out when the time comes. You do not get told which pile you are in. A machine decides, and a billionaire signs off. And that is the entire worth of your life to these people. Which means this was never about left against right, and they are desperate for you to believe that it is. This thing does not care whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, straight or gay, white or black or Hispanic or Asian, a Baptist, a Satanist, a Freemason, or a man who believes in nothing at all. To the machine in the desert, you are all the same animal. And unless they decide otherwise, you are all in pile 2. The only way any of us climbs out is together and loud. Loud enough that their armies of fake accounts cannot bury it, and their around-the-clock Fox News and CNN cannot drown it out. Share this with every person you know. Call your state representative. Write your congressman a real letter on real paper. Stand up in your church, your union hall, your group chat, anywhere your people gather, and raise holy hell. And when they finally roll up your driveway with a beautiful machine and an easy little payment plan, you look at your grandmother in her chair and you slam the door in their face. Help keep the wise wolf howling.